Steph Curry wins the All-Star Game MVP. Draymond Green says the Warriors are going to win an NBA championship on live national TV. And Kevin Knox joins the fold. We got a lot to talk about on today's Locked On Warriors.
Who cares now? Because I'm here. And I would like to think that I am wanted here.
Most importantly, he a dog.
We got 4 championships.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Speculation is just what it is, though.
Your team every day.
What is the good word, everyone? We appreciate you for making Locked On Warriors a part of your day and a part of your week. A lot of ways you can check us out. YouTube, you can Google us, and from there, audio podcast, always a good way to take us on the go. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That is on FanDuel. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. That's the flagship station of the Golden State Warriors. Also covered the team and their championship run in 21-22 and for 3 seasons for CBS News Bay Area, call letters KPIX. We got a free daily newsletter. It's sent to your email, and the way you subscribe, LockedOnDaily.com. On today's show, Kevin Knox joining the Golden State Warriors on a 10-day contract. Why I have a little bit of faith that he may stay a little bit longer than that 10-day contract. Draymond Green with a ton of audacity on TNT today with some of his claims. Why I'm excited that he went out there and said some of these things on national TV. And then Steph Curry, why bury the lead? He is your All-Star Game MVP, and that is where we start. I want to hear in the comments from everyone. First of all, we are going to have a town hall, a State of the Warriors coming up this week. We have plenty of downtime to break down certain things. So obviously, a question for me is like, what is Trace Jackson Davis's role moving forward? The Jimmy Butler acquisition thus far, where has it gone so smoothly? Are there any cracks in the acquisition that we've seen? And just in general, questions that we want to answer moving forward, like the play of Brandon Pajemski and Moses Moody. Are they in that starting lineup and you go a little bit smaller? So if you do have a question that you want to ask, we will feature it on a show this week. Just a full show that is dedicated to nothing but the viewer and the listener questions, a little town hall. So we'll get to that down the road. But today I want to start with the NBA All-Star Game while it is fresh. Steph Curry named the 2025 NBA All-Star Game MVP, just the 4th player in NBA history to have won 2 NBA All-Star MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, and an NBA Finals MVP. He joins elite company, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan. So that's the good from this All-Star weekend, is that Steph Curry adds another trophy to the case. He does it in the Bay Area. He gets to go back to Oracle, where so many memories were made. James Harden went to Oracle as well and said, this place is like hell. I'm getting flashbacks. But all in all, in terms of that, yes, it was great. Congratulations to Steph Curry and to those that went to the event, because it was probably a lot of fun. It's a party. It's a party for these players. It's a reason to celebrate accolades. It is, it's a showcase. It's entertainment at the end of the day. And especially when you have young kids. I mean, you saw Steph Curry going to the 3-point contest back in 92 when he was a young guy. Now he gets to bring the kids. It's a lot of fun in that regard. But for the viewers, comment on this show or in the chat if you actually enjoyed the product of what went down today. I mean, the reason I was watching, I'm paid to watch it. So I had to watch from start to finish. But good God, if Severance wasn't tempting. There were a few times where I said, God, it may be time to go over to Severance, because it was a tough watch. Overproduced like crazy. I saw a comment on the internet that said this was TNT's last All-Star Game ever, and they were just trying to sabotage it on the way out the door. It honestly seemed that way. It was brutal television. It was hard to watch. An All-Star Weekend summary that I saw online, 381 hours of commercials, 47 times the TNT crew hated on the NBA, 30-plus unfunny Kevin Hart jokes, a dark blue and yellow court hurting our eyes, 0 famous NBA players in dunk contest. That said dunk contest was won by Mac McClung, forever Warrior. But yes, he's irrelevant in the grand scheme of the NBA thing. And now he's winning the dunk contest every single season. And then finally, no effort in any of the 3 All-Star games played. They went with the mini games. 3 teams of 8 rising stars added into the fold. They had Team Shaq, Shaq's OGs, which Steph Curry was a part of. And it wasn't really enjoyable. It was more of the same from what we've seen. Wide open lanes, some dunks, some deep threes. Rinse and repeat. All-Star games in just about every sport sock. It's as simple as that. Even Draymond Green, like don't quote me on it. Draymond Green on national TV, they're like, what do you think about this new format? 1 through 10. He's like, 10 being the highest? A 0. This game sucks. But I mean, it's a hard watch. We did get a couple good things from this weekend. Mr. Beast came out. First of all, he called it, what's up, San Fran? I'm like, oh, no, you don't do that. You learned that from day one, Mr. Beast. You should know this. But Mr. Beast comes out, and granted, he's one of the most famous people in the United States, the world for that matter. He's got millions of followers. He may even be at the billion mark at this point on YouTube. But when it comes to being a live entertainer, a live performer, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. There was a point where I felt bad for him. He's like, hey, Chuck, Shaq, someone come over here and give this guy a little pep talk as he's shooting for $100,000 to beat Dame Lillard. It was cringe. It was cringe. Now, what wasn't cringe was he was literally, Mr. Beast was like, we got to go to a break. Just keep shooting. Fire up these shots. Dame Lillard had to get to 3 of the deep threes, and this fan had to just hit 1. And if he hit the 1, he got $100,000. And for a second, I literally thought they were going to cut to black. I'm like, oh, this is a disaster. This is a disaster. What is going on? They're just fired up threes. And then the guy makes it. And I'm like, oh, yes, this is great television. So $100,000 for that guy. Good for him. But 3-point contest. Buddy Hield ties Steph Curry's record for a round. So we saw the full Buddy Hield cycle in a 3-point shootout where he goes from hot to ice cold, can't hit anything. And then by the end of it, he's hot again, but he comes up just a shot short. So we've seen that from time to time. It was Tyler Hero that won that. Wembanyama and Chris Paul got disqualified from the skills competition. I'll tell you what, if you're like a hockey fan, basketball fan, and you were double screening it, veteran move, by the way. You were double screening it. Watching, gloves off, Canada and the United States throwing punches at each other 5 seconds into the game, and then watching the skills competition of Wemby and Chris Paul just flinging 3-pointers into the popcorn vendor's face. Like, what was better TV? Even as a non-hockey person, we all know the answer to this. It was not the greatest game, weekend, event. It never is. But the positives, it was in the Bay Area. It got to showcase the most beautiful geographical land in the United States of America. That's a non-biased opinion. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I do not claim that Cincinnati, Ohio is the most beautiful place in the United States. It's the Bay Area, at least that I've seen. So we got to see those shots on TNT. Obviously, it does wonders for for just jobs in general. Gives a lot of people work. You can't complain about that. And it's a spectacle. But in terms of like sitting there trying to enjoy it, maybe the young kids out there had a blast. But to the adults that had to watch that thing, I mean, good God, it was not great television by any means. I will say this. We got some juice from the pregame show. Draymond Green was on the set. Probably going to make a lot of money either coaching or analyzing in the future, and probably not the too distant future. But he had some analyzing on the show, and he also had some opinions saying that the Golden State Warriors with Jimmy Butler are going to be the team to beat in the NBA. We're discussing that coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time between work, life, trying to eat healthier. I was constantly feeling stressed out. I'd go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too. But everything changed when I discovered Hungryroot. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungryroot, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of the grocery shopping. They recommend meals and groceries based on my taste and my health goals. They give you anti-inflammatory options to high protein and gluten-free. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungryroot as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Do not miss out. Let's get back to the show.
Very, very, very happy that I'm not getting suspended no more.
Jimmy Butler has joined the Golden State Warriors in the last couple of weeks at the deadline, for those of you that are living under a rock. And the Warriors are 3-1 with him, seconds away from being 4-0. Now they beat the Chicago Bulls. They beat a Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks team. They lost to an Anthony Davis-less, and the list goes on and on from there. I mean, Mavericks didn't have any of their bigs. They lost to them, and then they beat the Houston Rockets, who are missing Van Vliet and Tari Eason. So we'll see exactly how good the Warriors are. There's a 27-game sample size for them to get into the promised land, which is that top 6 seed. Because playing, you never want to get there. You never want to have extra games. You never want to have a potential double elimination opportunity where all your players may not be healthy for a game, whatever it may be. You don't want that situation. So what you want to do is start winning some games here. And one of the issues is Jonathan Kuminga is not going to be back for at least a minute. And by a minute, it could be next week. Warriors are going to reevaluate him after the All-Star break, hopefully incorporate him into practices, and hopefully in the next week or so, we may actually see some Jonathan Kuminga live basketball. But again, this was an injury that was supposed to be, 2-3 weeks, reevaluate, hopefully get him on the floor. I don't have the exact timeline, but I know for a fact it's been a lot longer than 2 to 3 weeks. So Draymond on TNT, on the pregame show with Vince Carter, with Candace Parker, with Adam Lefkoe, he's sitting up there talking about how different the Warriors are since they got Jimmy Butler. And I see what he's seeing. They have this it factor that they did not have before, that there's something about them that I like. And I'm going to like it a lot more when Jonathan Kuminga comes back. But again, got to start winning some of these games for him to come back. But Draymond says nobody scares him. Said it on live TV. Nobody scares me. There isn't a standout team in the NBA, and you haven't seen that team yet, because that team is the Golden State Warriors. I'm going to follow Jimmy Butler. Him and Steph Curry are the leaders of this team. I'm going to follow those two right to an NBA championship. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, you got to love the confidence, but the Warriors, as they sit, are 3.5 games out of the 6th seed, and they're only 1.5 games up on being in the postseason altogether. So they got to start winning in order to even have a chance to show that nobody scares the Golden State Warriors. That's where we stand currently. 27-game stretch coming up before the playoffs start. It is a sprint. They won't have Jonathan Kuminga for some of these games. They have to start winning basketball games now. It kind of feels like the Warriors to start the season. They got off to this really hot preseason. They went undefeated. Then they start off 10-2 on the regular season. The reason that they were so hot out of the gate is there was just a lot of connection, right? They go to Hawaii for their preseason camp. They talked about having the good mojo and the good vibes entering the regular season. There was just an emphasis, while teams like Dallas or Memphis or whoever it may be may have just been warming up to the season. It feels like the Warriors put their foot entirely on the gas and said, let's go to this hot start. Melton gets hurt. They start losing some close games. They start blowing some leads. Confidence gets shot. All of a sudden, we're looking at a team that has been below 500, but currently are one game above 500. This is a massive, massive push coming up for the Golden State Warriors. Draymond Green, he says it feels like the postseason already.
It's the playoffs for us coming out of the break. What we got, 27 games left? It's a 27-game playoff, and then a grind to win 16. That's the urgency I expect. That's the urgency that we will have.
It seems like the belief level is rising a little bit internally.
Shout out to Jimmy Butler. Completely changed the belief of this team. We started off the year great, and everybody believed. And then continued to believe even though it was going rough. But at a certain point, it don't start going right. You start to lose that belief. And we did. And it's like Jimmy was like life support for us. Just came and injected a bunch of energy, a bunch of belief into this group because of the leader that he is, because of the talent player that he is, because of the guy and dog that he is. And, like I told the guys, we can all fall in line. He's a great guy to follow. And like I said, that belief that, he's brought back to his team, I'm sure you can see it watching. To me, when I'm watching, it looks different. When I'm playing, it feels different.
When he's playing, it feels different. Life support, he said, is what Jimmy Butler was. And we all knew this. Warriors were dead. My entire talking point, all of camp, all of preseason, all of the first 30 games of the season, up to 40 games, it was the Warriors were waiting in the weeds, ready to pounce. They needed to make that move that took them to the next level. Jimmy Butler was the best option on the table that realistically could have happened. They went after this move. And we're going to see a 4-game sample size is not enough to proclaim that the Warriors are in any form of title contention. At best, I think that, they're going to have an uphill climb to get into the playoffs, to get into that 6th seed where they feel comfortable and actually get a real series instead of having to need everything to go right in a given day. Because if we've learned one thing about this Warriors team, it's that they are Jekyll and Hyde shooting. You may get 45% from deep. You may get 26%. And sure, with Jimmy Butler, they've been able to win some games where they haven't shot it well. And I do think that'll continue. But I just, Warriors in a 2-game stretch, I don't want it. I don't want it. No one wants it. You need that 6th seed moving forward. And in order to do that, the Warriors need to treat these next 27 games like it is the playoffs. He's absolutely right. And the stretch coming up is obviously massive for the Warriors. You got to stay afloat until Jonathan Kuminga returns. By the time Kuminga returns, I legit think you got a squad. I mean, not only did Butler being infused into this roster really pick things up, the other wrinkle to this is you lost players like Anderson and Schroeder and Lindy Waters, and those players were replaced minutes-wise by Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski, who in the last game played like 30 minutes a pop. I think Podziemski was up to 35, and both of those players are playing the best basketball of their career. I've been consistently asking, can we see some form of the future for the Warriors? Because it just felt patched together for so long around this 2-timeline ordeal. And now I kind of see it coming together. It's a 3-year victory lap for Steph Curry, for Jimmy Butler, and for Draymond Green and the talent around them. Sounds like Lacob is going to go after Kuminga in restricted free agency, and that should not be a worry. We'll see when that day comes. But Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski, those are your guys along with that core 3. From there, we will see who's a big part of this, but that's 6 guys that you feel pretty good about if you are a Warriors fan for the next couple of seasons, and especially down the stretch of this season, if everyone can stay healthy. Again, on a show later this week, I want to talk about Trace Jackson Davis's role. It's a very strange situation to see someone go from starter and 25 minutes per game to the point where you lost players. Like, the Warriors are thin as hell. They have 0 depth right now, and he's getting DNPs. It is a wild phenomenon to see, but I guess when you can't make layups and your percentage around the basket goes from 70% to 40% or whatever it may be, that is going to make a difference in your playing time, especially when Quentin Post comes into the fold. Another player has come into the fold for the Golden State Warriors on a 10-day contract. I'm here to tell you why it could be more. Kevin Knox, the former lottery pick, expected to make his Warriors debut coming up soon. Let's discuss what Knox brings to the Bay Area.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss opening tip-off or if you want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. One of my favorite things about FanDuel is typically you're watching a Dubs game, and let's say you're up by 10 or down by 10, whatever, and the bet that you had has no chance of winning. There's always a bet to be played. If the Warriors are down by 10, guess what? Live lines plus 9.5, few points. That's all it takes. And you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Very, very, very happy that I'm not getting suspended no more.
Kevin Knox to the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Knox listed at 6'7". I got to tell you, he seems like the tallest 6'7" human being out there. His draft profile had him at 6'9". I think he looks like 6'10" just watching him. Kind of reminds me build-wise, that's somewhat from the way he plays, Michael Porter Jr. You put those guys next to each other and watch them play ball, like it's similar. Obviously, Porter Jr. has had a much better career than Kevin Knox, but the talent has always been there for Knox. That has never been the issue. There's a reason why he went number 9. There's a reason why he was considered Kentucky's best player over John Calipari, over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was their go-to guy. The Knicks bring him in top 10, averages 12 points in his rookie year. There are reasons for all these things, and it's because he does have some talent. However, I always like going back to an NBA player's draft, especially one that kind of came into the league raw, because I remember Kevin Knox was one of those players that flirted with coming back to Kentucky. Some of the Wildcats fans thought that Knox had a serious chance of returning, and obviously that did not happen. But he clearly had some things that he needed to work on in terms of his weaknesses entering the league. And it's funny because you go back and look at all these weaknesses, and they are still question marks in his game. And the reasons that he has never been a consistent mainstay in the NBA. Now, he has played over 300 games in the NBA. He had no business being in Santa Cruz, where he averaged 17-9 this season on 38% three-point shooting. He's an NBA player. Now, he's someone that probably, especially on a good team, is at the very end of the bench. On a bad team, isn't lighting up the stat book. We've seen that over the years. But he's someone that belongs on an NBA floor. And for the Warriors to be able to get him and to go after him instead of other guys in the buyout market, it shows that they somewhat believe in what he can bring to the team, especially since they saw him in the Summer League, in the G League, and also in preseason. But his weaknesses, his motor can run hot and cold. When engaged, he is very good, but when not fully engaged, he can disappear completely. And I've always noticed this with Kevin Knox. It's how he starts. If he can knock down shots, because it's a mental motor. It's one of those things where it's confidence with Kevin Knox. He loves shooting the basketball. He's a flamethrower. He's a 34% career flamethrower. He chucks them up from deep. He stands out on the perimeter and fires away. Always has. Shoots more threes than he grabs rebounds, and that cannot happen for the Golden State Warriors. And that's what this scout said. Like, his overall game can be affected by his shot. When the shot isn't falling, he could start to lose focus. And instead of affecting the game in other ways, he just kind of blends in and disappears. And all that talent goes to waste a little bit instead of defending, rebounding, cutting, doing things that help your team win. And that is what I want to see from Kevin Knox for the Golden State Warriors. At the very best, he's going to be spot minutes here and there to start. He's not playing 25 minutes. At least I don't think. He's the last person off the bench as of right now, unless he takes over Guy Santos' spot or something along those lines. But what I want to see from Kevin Knox is not someone that's looking to earn his next NBA bag, is not someone that's looking to light up the scorebook and show teams that he can get hot in a hurry and can score from all three levels. I just want to see someone that makes winning plays, that helps the team win. I remember in the preseason, Doris Burke was doing a game, may have been Summer League. I don't remember, but she was just Kevin Knox rebounding. This is not like him. Like, who is this guy? We've seen a lot of Kevin Knox, and this is not a part of his package. He's been crashing the glass hard. That is what we need from Kevin Knox. Just someone that is willing to get gritty, that is willing to get dirty, and that is willing to pick up the slack that the Warriors lost in losing forwards Andrew Wiggins to the Miami Heat and Jonathan Kuminga to injury. And quite frankly, Kyle Anderson as well. The Warriors need Knox to give them good minutes when they ask upon Kevin Knox. That is the biggest thing. Back to some of his weaknesses. Possesses poor court vision, normally due to keeping his head down when handling the ball. He's not a great ball handler. Turnovers are a thing. Rarely passes the ball in transition. Will be at a speed and quickness disadvantage against small forwards at the next level. That's the thing about Knox. He's athletic. He can yam it. He can get above the rim and can take it to the bucket. But you watch him, and athletic and quick are kind of two different words, right? And he's not quick. Maybe not Kyle Anderson slow, but you watch him out there and he's just kind of stiff. He's a tall dude. He's a little bit stiff on the floor. And quickness is not one of his things. I mentioned that when the offense goes through other players, he often coasts instead of rebounding or focusing on defense, settles for long shots instead of attacking defenders, only has one move in the post, not a very efficient player, doesn't have a noticeable killer instinct or edge to him, sometimes looks content to blend, sometimes struggles to create his own shot as he can't get past opponents. I'm reading this scouting report, and I'm like, who possibly read this and said, let's take him at number 9? And the reason why they took him is he's a versatile forward who was great at Kentucky, and they thought that he was going to develop into a dangerous scorer at the next level. I mean, 6'9", versatile forward, good size and length, smooth shooting mechanics with good arc. He can score off the dribble. He's got a really nice pull-up game like Porter Jr., to where a couple dribbles pull up, fade to his left, fade away, whatever it may be. Like, he can knock those shots down. He has a quick trigger. He can get them off in a hurry. And, of course, the three-point shooting is going to be something that we are watching. I don't think any Warriors fans are expecting Kevin Knox at this point to live up to lottery expectations. You don't really see that in the NBA. Someone that in his 7th year of service time, who has had multiple chances for 4 or 5 other teams, all of a sudden turns into, oh my God, he's just good. They were smart picking him over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think we're ever going to see that. But we have seen with the Warriors, they've been able to resuscitate some players that it felt like didn't really have careers. Gary Payton being a good example, Bielitsa. There are other players that we can point to in the last few seasons that they've brought in. They tried to do it with, DeAnthony Melton this season. That obviously did not work out, but he's a buy low, low risk, medium reward. Someone that all of a sudden he fits into the structure of your team. He gives you a big body, and you can decide what you want to do with Kevin Knox moving forward. But he's a gamble because he's an NBA guy. It's better than running Jackson Rowe out there. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. And look, he could score the basketball. The Warriors need guys that can score it. And if he is shooting 38% like he was at the G League level, watch out. Knox can make some noise. Because that's always been the big part of his game. If he's knocking down threes, he's gonna have some confidence, and his motor is going to be spinning. So we will see what Kevin Knox brings in the fold. Again, reportedly a 10-day contract. He will join the team post All-Star break. The comments on Kevin Knox. What do we got? We're not winning an NBA championship from O'Brien. Don't shoot the messenger. Draymond Green said it on TNT, not me. Is Joe Lacob ready to pay Kuminga to come off the bench from Raymond? Sounds like it. Based on everything we've heard, Joe Lacob is obsessed with Jonathan Kuminga. That is his guy, and Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a part of the Warriors moving forward. Spin zone. If that Kevin Durant trade was as close to going through as we heard, had Durant been more obliged to move, Jonathan Kuminga would have been in that deal. So at the end of the day, business is business. Lacob can like him, but if something comes up, there is a chance that, Kuminga doesn't play for the Warriors next year. But in terms of ready to pay Kuminga, yes. In order to pay Kuminga to come off the bench, you would hope somehow, some way that the moving forward is a lineup of Curry. You got Butler at the 2, you got Kuminga at the 3, Dre at the 4, and Post at the 5 to give you some shooting. But maybe that's not the move. I mean, the Warriors do have some opportunities to mix things up. Sounds like Brandon Pajemski is going to be their starting shooting guard moving forward. Is Buddy Hield got just 14 minutes in his last contest with the Warriors. We will see if it stays that way and if the Hield minutes start going down, or if, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason, it feels like, with Steve Kerr from time to time. I mean, half the season you didn't see Lindy Waters, and then next thing you know, he'd play 25 minutes for 5 straight games, and then no injuries would happen, and he'd fall out of the lineup, and you're like, where'd Lindy go? And why is Pat Spencer in the lineup all of a sudden? And, Geese Santos has been injected in the lineup when about 4 guys are hurt, and now he's a mainstay. There's no rhyme or reason right now, or at least there wasn't, but it does feel like this rotation has been shored up to the point where it is Curry when healthy. Curry, Pajemski, Moody, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, Quentin Post, Jonathan Kuminga. You got 7 right there. Buddy Hield, maybe Knox will enter the rotation. Peyton, Looney, you got 11 right there. And we'll see if Pat Spencer gets some minutes moving forward. But that's kind of where we stand with the Warriors right now. Schedule post All-Star break, and Kolsky and myself and Kylan and myself, we'll be talking to you before Friday, February 21st. That is when the Warriors tip it off with the Sacramento Kings up in the state capitol. Then it's the Mavericks. So 2 games that you've lost to these teams multiple times this season. But after that, it's the Hornets. They're stinky. We saw the Magic at Chase a couple weeks back. They're not very good. 76ers. Hornets again. Then you got Knicks, Nets, Pistons, Trailblazers. Like, there are some winnable games, and there are chances for the Warriors to go on this little 2-3 game winning streak. 3-gamer. They have not done it since early November. They need to have one of these 3, 4, 5 gamers to creep back up into the 6th seed. Because if they're winning 2, losing 1, losing 2, winning 1, that's not going to cut it. They're not going to catch the Los Angeles Clippers, and the fate of playoff Jimmy is going to be play in Jimmy to see if the Warriors can get some extra games. But that does it for me. Steph Curry, we salute you. All-Star Game MVP. The show itself, the 2 days of nonstop coverage, this is just an opinion-based thing, but it was not great television whatsoever. But it's in the rearview mirror now. And the only thing to look forward to is some Warriors basketball in the second half. 27 games remain in the regular season. Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Draymond Green said it best. Everyone else is falling in line and starting to know their roles. Thanks, everyone. Hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the show, and we will talk to you soon.